What's up, everyone? I'm AJ Fresh. Thanks for joining us today for the Rally Forward virtual event. Thanks to Range Resources and Washington County Chamber of Commerce for making this all possible. Sit back, relax, enjoy a few mashups before we get things started. Here we go.
If you're ready and you know it, clap your hands. If you're ready and you know it, clap your hands. If you're ready and you know it, don't be afraid to show it. If you're ready and you know it, clap your hands. Stop them. If you're ready and you know it, clap your hands. If you're ready and you know it, clap your hands. If you're ready and you know it, don't be afraid to show it. If you're ready and you know it, clap your hands. Stop them.
I didn't give an official intro who I was.
Allow me to properly introduce myself.
Allow me to introduce myself.
I'm sorry, let me introduce myself properly.
Allow myself to introduce myself.
Allow me to reintroduce myself. So just let me introduce myself.
Boom shakalaka.
Boom chakalaka.
My name is.
Say my name.
Say my name. Say my name.
Say my name.
My name is
DJ.
A.J. Fresh in the mix.
My mama calls, see you on TV. Sunset shit done changed. Ever since we was on, I dreamed it all. Ever since I was young, they said I won't be nothing. Now they always say congratulations. Work so hard from the house to vacation. They ain't never had the dedication. People hate, say you changing, look, we made it. We made it.
Partly, I only love my bed and my mom, I'm sorry. 50 dub, I even got it tatted on me. 81, they'll bring the crashers to the party. And you know me, turn the 02 into the 03. Without 40 Ollie, there be no me. Imagine if I never met the broskies. Black leather glove, no sequins. Buckles on the jacket, it's elite. Nike crossbody got a piece in it. Gotta dance, but it's really on some street. I'ma show you how to get it. It go right foot up, left foot slide, left foot up, right foot slide. Basically, I'm saying either way we bout to slide. Hey, can't let this
she wanna dance with me. Roxanne, Roxanne, all she wanna do is party all night. Goddamn, Roxanne, never gonna love me, but it's alright. She think I'm a player. She keep running back, only cause I pay her. Roxanne, Roxanne, all she wanna do is party all night. Met her at a party in the hills, yeah. She just wanna do it for the thrill, yeah. Shorty, drop it,
Everybody here ain't from here, but we're here doing our thing. Letting go a little by little, sipping on a frozen drink. Taking bars, taking, pouring on weekend, clouds ain't leaking no rain. Two pieces shaking, white caps breaking, we ain't feeling no pain. It goes like one margarita, two margarita, three margarita shot.
Some people call me the space cowboy. Yeah. Some call me the gangster of love.
Bounce, come on, bounce.
Some people call me Maurice. Or the pompous of love.
Bounce, come on, bounce.
People talk about me, baby. Say I'm doing you wrong, doing you wrong. Well, don't you worry, baby, don't worry. Go, I'm right
go,
here,
shorty.
right
Go,
here.
go, shorty. Go, shorty.
Wave them from side to side.
Go, shorty. Go, shorty. Go, shorty. Go, shorty.
Wave them from side to side.
Go, shorty. Go. Get your hands up. Go. Get your hands up. Go. Get your hands up. Go.
I got a little quick mashup for the COVID-19 quarantine. Check it out.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to get through this thing called
Life.
Life.
My life, my life, my life, my life.
Look at our life now.
This is our life. This is our song. This is our life, our life.
We are one weary ship.
But this is our life.
A life as a community. A life as a nation.
Our old life is done.
All right, so our life stinks.
That's our life.
One day.
One day.
But I would like to tell you.
After this.
Everyone knows that together we can get through this.
Now, we can get through this thing, all right?
We can figure this out.
I can get through this.
Can I get through this, please?
This is it? After all we've been through.
We are all one spirit.
Are we as one?
We are one funky bunch.
We are one big family.
We are one.
We are all one.
I quit my job so I could stay at home.
I was wondering if I could stay at home.
Stay-at-home dad most of my life.
You could stay at home.
You need to stay at home.
Stay at home.
I would stay at home.
Stay at home. Listen to the radio. Used to always stay at home.
Stay at home and have dinner and listen to the tragedy. I have a dream.
I have a dream.
You got a dream, you got to protect it.
I have a dream. So let us summon a new spirit of patriotism, of responsibility, where each of us resolves to pitch in and work harder and look after not only ourselves but each other.
So what are we doing after this?
We are gonna party like the 80s.
Somebody's gonna drink too much.
We can drink you through this.
I'm gonna drink till I reboot.
And then I'm going to drink another one.
Are we going to your party?
I'm going to get a drink. When I come back, don't be here. So remember, I love cheesy poops. You love cheesy poops. If we didn't eat cheesy poops.
There is one thing I want to say.
I just have one thing to say to you boys.
I guess there's just one thing to what you want to do.
Ride it. They say ride it like a cowboy. Just ride it. Ride that sucker right through.
For real? Is this for real? Like for real, for real?
Just ride it. Ride that sucker right through.
Can you say that?
How can you say that?
Can you say that again?
Just ride it. Ride that sucker right through.
Once again, I'm AJ Fresh, and I want to say thank you to the class of 2020. Best of luck. Now I'm throwing it over to the Range Resources host, Laurel Zimba.
AJ, that was awesome. Thank you for kicking off today's event. Guys, if you're looking for entertainment for an upcoming party or special event, please check out DJ A.J. Fresh at ajfresh.com. Class of 2020, welcome to the Rally Forward. My name is Laurel Zimba, and I'm with Range Resources. Together with the Washington County Chamber, we created the Rally Forward for you. We're here to show you support, to show you encouragement, and to hopefully connect you with people that will help you process some of the unique events that have defined so far your senior year. Over the next hour, I will be introducing you to some special guests, after which I will be asking them some questions, but then we're going to open up the floor to you. We'll also be doing some polling because we want to hear more about who the class of 2020 is, and we'll be giving away some prizes. Over the next hour, after we do all of that, we want you to continue the discussion with our panelists. We don't want the end of the discussion to be at the end of today's event. Please follow up with our panelists at therallyforward.com, where you'll find their contact information, and then you can, I guarantee you, no matter what walk of life or what career path you're interested in, one of our panelists is either that person or they know someone to connect you with to answer some of those very important questions. So before we get into today's event, some housekeeping items. You've all been muted when you dialed in, so please, if you have a question of a panelist, either use the raise hand feature or send us the question through the chat and we'll ask our panelists that way. Sound good? Okay, great. Before we get into panelist introductions, we're going to start with a poll because we want to know who's dialed in today. We've got two separate answer screens in front of you because we weren't able to put every high school in Washington County on our answer screen. So make sure you answer the screen that corresponds with your high school. After a few minutes, I think you can see it now. Really curious who's dialed in and which high school has the most representation. Right, I see we've got Bella here, we've got some Bentworth people, Cherry. Okay, we're moving around. We've got Ken and Mac. Okay, so with a 40% response rate, we've got, oh, actually it was completely tied, 33% with both Bentworth and Ken and Mac. So welcome Bearcats, welcome Big Macs, and welcome to all of you to the Rally Forward. At this point, I'm going to turn the floor over to our panelists. Panelists, I'd like you to introduce yourselves, tell us who you are, what you do for a living, and why it was important for you to be here at the Rally Forward today. Megan Chacon, why don't we start with you?
Hi, I'm Tabitha, and I'm from Peters Township.
Hey Tabitha, thanks for being with us.
Hey Tabitha, hi everyone. So excited and honored to have a conversation today to share some insight about my career path. As Laurel said, my name is Megan Chacon and I am a State Farm agent with 2 office locations in Peters Township and Robinson Township. So as a small local business representing the #1 auto, home, and life insurance company in the nation, my team and I help our neighbors recover from the unexpected. So those things that you work really hard for, such as your car or maybe your home or your personal property, we help to make sure that you have insurance in place in case disaster strikes and you need us to replace it. Many, many people throughout my career have helped me on my professional journey. And so today it was so important for me to be involved so that I can pay that forward.
Thank you, Megan. Callie, how about you next?
Hi, everyone. My name is Callie. I'm an operations engineer at Range Resources. I'm currently in my production engineering rotation. So I will do 2 more rotations through our engineering departments. I thought it was very important for me to be here because it wasn't but 4 years ago that I was in these seniors' shoes. So I know what it's like to come out of high school and have this gigantic world in front of you, so many options, so many things that you can do. And although it looks a little different now than it did when I graduated, I know that you guys share some of the same fears that I had when I graduated. So to have this conversation and connect with you guys is really important to me.
Thank you, Callie. Now I would like to turn this over to Representative Natalie Mihalik. Natalie?
Unmute.
Oh, that's okay. Happens.
Thanks, Laurel. Nice to see you. Thanks for having me here. I'm Natalie Mihalik. I'm a state representative for the 40th District in the Pennsylvania House of Representatives. I know 23 years ago when I was in your shoes, I was always looking for guidance and mentorship and inspiration. And I hope that me, along with myself and the other panelists, we can provide some of that to you as well.
Thank you, Natalie. How about Chase?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Chase McLean. I'm the Director of Marketing for the Washington County Chamber of Commerce and the Washington County Tourism Promotion Agency. And I was excited about today because I think what we do as a Chamber of Commerce is bring business people together. And, as a community, we're able to help each other out. And so if you look across our panelists today, it represents a really diverse mix of industries. And, whenever you get to see fresh perspectives like that, I think it's helpful for everybody.
Thank you, Chase. Brian Schweitzer, how about let's hear from you?
Morning, or good afternoon, I should say, everyone. I'm Ryan Schweitzer, president of Crossgates. We are a local real estate development and property management company. When I say local, our offices are right on Route 19 here in Peters Township. So some of the buildings you might be familiar with, the old Brugger's Bagels, Hotspot, obviously no longer here, but our offices are located behind there. And some of the Norman Centers up by South Hills Village Mall. So remain local in that piece and recognizing some of our real estate that you might have seen. We're a 3rd generation real estate company. So family owned, and again, enjoy the local aspect of this. And I felt it was important just to be a resource in a time like these. Hopefully that can benefit some of the people on the call. We are local. And so if there's ever a need or a way to reach out to ask questions, it's always good to bounce information off of people you see around. So hope everyone enjoys the call today.
Great, thank you, Ryan. Brandon, can we hear from you next?
Absolutely. My name is Brandon Mendoza. I'm the executive director at NAOP in Pittsburgh, which is the Commercial Real Estate Association. Ryan, who just spoke, is actually on my board. Our members are developers, brokers, and folks in the industry. So engineers, architects, finance, construction. So I get a broad range of information and intelligence from our folks in the built environment who are building our region and other regions. I wanted to be here today, one, just to say congratulations. This is a major milestone in all of your lives. But I also wanted to say, I know that this isn't an ideal situation, but I want to remind you guys that you guys have been forged by the strongest of flames. And you and your classmates now have a bond that should be stronger. And I want to, just ensure that you guys, and ask that you guys try to hold on to that and utilize that. That's a unique thing that you now have. So again, just glad to be here and congratulations.
Thank you, Brandon, and thank you, panelists. Class of 2020, hopefully you see we have a diverse set of panelists today with diverse backgrounds. And a question that I'd like to start the group open with is, are you doing what you had always dreamed you'd be doing in high school? Or has your careers changed over the years? How did you get to where you are, and what events led you there? Megan, did you always want to be in the insurance business, or did some event happen that led you there?
Yeah, heck no. I don't think anybody wakes up and says, oh, I want to be in insurance one day. I always wanted to be a broadcast journalist, on television, reporting the news. I woke up with Wendy Bell and Kelly Fry from WTAE every morning, and I just thought, wow, I really want to be them one day. And obviously I needed a plan B, and so here I am. And I went to school to be a broadcast journalist, and I did an internship my sophomore year at Pitt with their media relations department. And so I was on the other side of the camera, and it was not for me. It was very cutthroat. I saw things and learned things that I wasn't aware of. And I just thought, you know what, I'm not willing to move to some small town, jump out of a van at 2 a.m. reporting live from the scene to work my way up. So I needed a plan B, and I didn't have a plan B. So I turned to my family. And so I am a third generation agent. So I went to my grandfather and I went to my uncle, and I said, hey, I need a summer job. Will you hire me? And they told me no, but they gave me an introduction. And they gave me an introduction to a local claims office that had a summer internship program. And it paid really well, and I met a lot of great people, but it was awfully boring. But what I did make were connections, and that was connections with people that were my mentors and introduced me to the State Farm agent opportunity. And from there, my curiosity grew, and I took it upon myself to reach out to local State Farm agents around Pittsburgh. I actually interned 1 day a week, had another internship with State Farm, and just kind of worked my way up. So I got my foot in the door through an internship, took my first job out of school as an administrative assistant, had a marketing role through corporate right after that until I opened my own agency in 2011. So, and since then I've grown my agency. I'm almost in it 10 years, and I just opened a second location. So I started off thinking that I wasn't going to do what I'm doing, and it was through other people and relationships and connections and asking questions that really brought me to where I am today.
Thank you, Megan. Now I'm going to ask this question of Representative Mihalik. Representative Mihalik, one look at your bio shows us that you are a veteran, so thank you for your service, nuclear machinist in the Navy, attorney, state representative. That is a roadmap for adaptation. Can you tell us a little bit about how you navigated all of those changes and how it led you to your career in public service?
Sure. It's a little taste of everything, right? So when I was in your shoes, graduating from high school a little over 20 years ago, I knew that I was going into the Navy. I actually enlisted a week out of high school. I had spent my senior year in the delayed entry program, going out to the recruiter's office every weekend and doing drills there. So I knew that I wanted to serve immediately upon graduation. So I gave my mom a week to do my graduation party, and that was it. I was off to boot camp. I was selected to be in the nuclear power program, which at the time, and is still true today, although the numbers might be a little increased, but women were less than 1% of that program. So it was definitely a unique experience. And I felt like one unique and challenging experience just sort of led me to the next unique and challenging experience, because certainly, being on a ship and being stuck in an engine room in an all male environment, then going off to college and then on to law school. My first job out of law school, I worked as a prosecutor at the Allegheny County District Attorney's Office. Again, it was a very male dominated field. Police prosecutors, defense attorneys, the judges, for the most part, were male. Not at the rate that I was dealing with in the Navy, certainly, but that experience just led me to be, I think, more successful in that environment, because it just didn't bother me that I was not on a level playing field, so to speak. I had spent about the next 10 years or so in private practice, doing as a private attorney, and then got the political bug, so to speak. I had always been loosely involved with our local committees and the local party, and always had an interest. I don't know that I ever saw myself in this particular role per se, but I just I had the service in my blood, I suppose. And seat became opened, and I jumped right in and never looked back. And definitely those experiences helped me adapt into my role now. It does tend to be a male-dominated field once again, and I think women are taking great strides to running for office right now. It was pink wave in 2018 when I got elected, and I think we'll continue to see more of that as time goes on. But it was certainly a lifetime of adaptation, and I just feel that even though some of the fields aren't related, certainly what I did in the Navy, taking radiation measurements all day and fixing pumps and starting up an engine room, is certainly nothing of what I'm doing now, but the skills that I learned and how to seek mentorship and how to build relationships and how to work in difficult environments is certainly something that translates into any field.
Sure. Excellent. Thank you, Natalie. Ryan, would you like to take the next answer?
Sure. I'll say, I think from a young age, real estate was in my blood. I remember as a kid traveling around with my grandfather in a car to some of the developments he had done in the past, and I enjoyed seeing something built, and even as a kid, whether it be the Legos, Connects, whatever it might be, I just enjoyed building things. And so I can't say I jumped right into that. Some of the, as your time as seniors, throughout my high school in the summers, I had got involved with some surveying crews, title researchers, things that, you look back now and say, yeah, they're involved in the real estate industry. I can say that those weren't jobs that I particularly liked. But I did learn a lot from them. So I think that's helped along the way, and knowing that real estate was something I liked building, getting into. My path, like I said, I think I knew what I wanted to do, but the learning process to get there was good, informational, and again, I enjoy being where I am now. Again, one, working with family, but also two, putting buildings up and managing them. I mean, you learn a lot from the management side. Even when I came out of school, the internships I had were mainly understanding the guts, I'll call it, of buildings. And so when you start to learn from the ground up, it is interesting. And as time went on, I was introduced to every different facet of the industry here. So I'll go back to one of Megan's comments and Natalie's too. And the other thing that I enjoy about this business is meeting the people and knowing a lot of the people on the panel here. They're all good people. They're all good connections. So hopefully you all run across that as your time goes on and as you move in your industries and decide what you want to do and where to go.
Well, thank you, Ryan. I've heard from more than one engineer here at Range who said, I just loved to play with Legos growing up, and it was just a hobby of mine. So to see how a hobby has translated into a career path is really cool to see come to fruition. Brandon, how about you?
The field I'm in now is not what I thought I was going to be when I was in high school. At first, whenever I thought I'd be about 6'8", I thought it was going to be an MBA. So that obviously did not pan out. But I've taken a number of routes. I started off on the election side of things, and then I moved to more of a city management and planning side of things. And then I landed my first role out of grad school, I was working with a small lobbying firm, which was acquired by a large, a large law firm. And then from there, I got into Chamber of Commerce work and have been in associations since. But the great thing is I've been able to also get a lot of insight from other industries and industry leaders. I guess my message overall on this is, it's okay to be flexible. It's okay to, to grow and adapt. And it's okay to change your mind about what you think is important and what you want to do to provide. It's okay to change.
Okay, we've got two more of our panelists to hear from. Callie, let's hear from you next.
So to be the oddball out, I knew exactly what I wanted to do in high school. My freshman year, this is what I want to do, and this is what I'm going to do. So I wanted to be a petroleum engineer, a freshman in high school. And normally people were like, what is that? Why, my dad actually worked in the industry when I was a child. So growing up, I got to see what he was doing. And while I may not have understood it, I became really fascinated with it. So that, freshman year signing up for classes, I was taking all the math and science because I knew I wanted to be an engineer. Got to college, nothing changed. I did take some jobs around the campus that was more outreach and recruitment. And about my junior year, I kind of had this little, maybe I want to do recruitment or outreach instead. I was a little too deep into engineering to kind of divert. But out of college, I'm taking courses to get my MBA so that I can go back into that outreach and work with the college students like I did when I was a college student. So didn't really change it. My path didn't really change up to college, but while I was in college, I started to think about other things that I might want to do on top of engineering. But it was always, this is what I'm gonna do. This is what I'm going to do. And everything played out, and then that's okay too. A lot of people were like, oh, you're going to change your mind. You're going to change your mind. You're not going to like it. I had an internship in Texas doing the swinging the hammer, dirty stuff. And I loved it. I loved every second of it. And then that led to an internship with Range, where I got to kind of see the behind the scenes, the planning. And that was just like the icing on the cake for me. I loved it. And that's how I got my full-time position as an engineer with Range. But yeah, I was pretty hard-headed, straightforward on what I wanted to do.
Great, laser focus. And thank you, Callie. Last but not least, Chase McLean. What are your thoughts?
So I thought I had a pretty good idea of what I wanted to do when I got out of high school. And to this day, I'm not entirely sure why I did this, but when I got accepted to Slippery Rock University, I was accepted into the psychology program. I think it may have been because of The Sixth Sense with Bruce Willis. Seemed like a cool thing to do at the time. But when I went to freshman orientation with my dad, and we were sitting in this auditorium, and they were about to split everybody out into their majors, and just to hear from the professors, and they announced sport management. I thought, that sounds like what I enjoy. That sounds like something that I want to do. So I pivoted right at that very moment and said, Dad, hey, we're going to go check this out. And so we went over there and sat, and it wasn't a flowery speech. It wasn't, hey, look, you're going to make $1 million every year. It was, listen, you're going to work 100 hours a week. You're going to make $19,000 a year, but you are going to enjoy your job. You're going to enjoy your life. And from that point forward, I kind of redirected my career path, and from then forward, did some work in baseball at the Baseball Hall of Fame with the Altoona Curve, then got into professional golf, worked for the PGA Tour for about 8 years, then kind of went through another reinventing of myself, I guess. Worked in the hunting, fishing, and outdoor industry. But all those things, I think you'll find in your own lives that they lead you to where you're supposed to be. And I'm thankful for those experiences, and that it's led me here to Washington County, a place that we call home now, a place that we're raising our family now. And so I'm really happy to work with the Chamber of Commerce and the Tourism Promotion Agency. And it's because of all these things in this strange, winding career path that, I think it's helped me in a lot of different ways throughout my career.
Thank you, Chase. And now it's almost time to hear from our seniors. But before we do that, we're going to draw our first 2 prize winners. So with our first prize winner, I've got a hand that's going to hand me a name. We've got Jada Davenport, who will be our first prize winner. And right now, I'm going to send it over to our prize correspondent, Maeve. Maeve, could you please tell Jada what she's won?
All right, let's see what prize they won. Shazam! An Amazon gift card. Back to you, Laurel.
Thanks, Maeve. Now for our second winner of the day is Cameron Jones. I'm going to send it over to Maeve again, our prize correspondent. Maeve, can you tell Cameron what he's won?
All right. Bibbidi bobbidi boo. 10 outlets, take me with you.
Awesome, guys. Enjoy those gift certificates. And now before we take a couple questions from our seniors here today, we're going to do another poll. And this poll centers on your plans after graduation. So if you look at your screens now, your plans after high school graduation, you'll see a couple items that we've already selected for you. So if you wouldn't mind clicking an answer, and then we will determine what the group's plans are for the next phase of your lives. We've got some college answers there. Need for trade school yet? Oh, it looks like college is primarily, we don't even have any undecideds yet. So if you see that poll in front of you, we are about to close it out. Right now, it looks like college, there we've got a trade school there. And then pretty much everybody has answered. So it looks like the majority of you have chosen the career path to college. So good luck in that career path. I know at Range, we like to say, if you want it, we have it, whether you are going to college, if you're going to a trade school, entering straight the workforce, you'll find a lot of flexibility in all those different career paths, at least here at Range Resources, and I'm sure at many different companies. So at this point, I'm going to send it over to our senior class. So if you have a question and you would like to ask it of our panelists, please raise your hand or send it to us in the chat. And I believe we have Jonathan Brodak with a question. Jonathan, let's send it over to you.
Hello. So I'm Jonathan Brodak from Trinity High School. And I have a question on where would you have to go if you wanted to get into a certain biology field? Like, I think where I want to go for work is a bit more obscure, and I'm not sure who I can really talk to get help for it.
Well, what type of biology, Jonathan? I'm just curious what your career.
I guess, yeah, that would have made more sense to say that first. I'm interested in paleontology.
Paleontology. Would any of our panelists like to answer that question? Maybe Callie?
Yeah, so I went to college at West Virginia University. They have phenomenal programs. I do know that they have a biology program. I'm not positive about the paleontology, but I was a student ambassador for admissions, and so I worked a lot with students who had these types of questions. My advice would to be find the colleges that offer that program and then talk to the students. A lot of what I see is that students are talking to, I guess higher ups in the university, and they're not getting that full grasp of what student life looks like. And right now, especially with not being able to visit these campuses at all, really in person, connecting with students is probably the most important thing. And I know the admissions office, we have a variety of students from all kinds of different majors. And I think if you just reach out to them, and they'll be more than happy to talk with you, show you some career opportunities, where you can go with that degree, and so on and so forth. So that's would be my recommendation is find the colleges that offer that program and talk to the students who are in that program or at the university.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion, Callie. And I think Chase maybe has an answer to that as well.
Jonathan, consider too, we've got a lot of great resources in Washington County. And if you think about, from a tourism standpoint, Meadowcroft Rock Shelter and Historic Museum, Dave Schofield would be a wonderful resource. I'm sure he would be happy to talk to you. He could help point you in the right direction as well.
Thank you. We're going to take another question from our class of 2020. So if you'd like to ask a question, please raise your hand. I think I see Kate Hardy has a question. Kate, would you like to ask a question of our panelists?
Yeah, I'm going to Purdue for electrical engineering. I had a question for Representative Mihalik. So as I'm going to Purdue for engineering, it's a pretty male-dominated class. I was wondering if there were any suggestions you had through your experience for how to get through a lot of the male-dominated and how to get a leg up almost.
Sure. No, I appreciate the question. No, I mean, you're going to find your own way to get through it. And I can tell you how, my experience was and how I developed a sense of humor, I suppose, to kind of deflect the comments and some of, I don't want to say what you have to put up with, but just being in that environment, you're going to build up a natural, like, thick skin, so to speak, just to, I want to say protect yourself. I do want to say give me a call at some point before you go, and I'll happily, walk you through some of my own experiences at length. But I do think that it's important to just maintain, your priorities. You're there to do electrical engineering, which I think is a fantastic program at Purdue University. And you always have to remember that. That is why you're there. You're not there for any other reason, and you're going to develop a very thick skin in your own way.
Thank you, Representative Mihalik. And I am going to call on someone that I know out there, Cameron Jones, because I went to high school with your mom. And I know you're involved in the dramatic arts at school. You're an actor. Do you have any questions for the panel? Anything you'd like to share related to who the class of 2020 is?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I'm in the assignment theater. I love it. I'm going to Cal for it. I'm hoping to make a ring move.
You're breaking up a little bit. I wasn't able to hear. Okay. And we will say Cameron right now. And this next poll, third poll of the day, is describe your outlook for the future in one word. So you should have the responses to that poll question in front of you. Hopefully we've accurately captured them all. If you could click on what you're primarily feeling as you look out to the next year. Wow, that was a quick answer. Okay. It looks like, can we call that poll yet, Chase? We're still coming in there. Okay, it looks like the results we have back so far are excited. So the majority of you are excited for your future, and that's great. And hopefully you'll learn some stories and some advice from our panelists today that even get you more excited for what the next chapter of your lives holds. So at this point, I'm going to ask, as we're winding down to our last 20 minutes, I want the panelists to answer a question about failure, because we've all experienced a failure in our lives. And panelists, I want you to tell us how you dealt with that situation, how you bounced back from it, and then if you would change anything about that situation, looking back on it now. So for our first answer, I'm going to go to Callie. Callie, can you describe a failure or challenge that you faced in the past?
Yeah, so actually when I applied to college, I applied to the engineering school West Virginia, and I did not get accepted. So that was a punch to the gut, because, you know, in high school, this is what I want to do. I want to do it. I want to do it. And to find out that I really wasn't all that qualified to move right into the engineering college was pretty disheartening. I was accepted into the general college, but it's just still that, you know, I had a 4.0 in high school. I didn't feel like I had to study all that much, but, you know, the ACT, SAT scores just weren't up to par. So I was pretty upset about it. I did start studying to take what was then called the QRA, which was just a math and chemistry placement test. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to take that test until the first week of classes. So not only was I was enrolled in these math classes that I had previously taken in high school that I felt weren't useful because I already knew the material, while trying to study to get into a higher math while having first week of classes. So there was a lot coming at me from every different side. So I was able actually to get into Calc 1 after I took that test, and I was able to get back on track. But I did have to change my schedule in the middle of the first week of classes. So if I had to change it, I probably would have taken that exam when we had new student orientation, which was in June, rather than waiting to take it during that first week of classes. But, you know, it was a lot of, okay, this isn't going to go how exactly I plan it to. And I'm very not great at change. And so me envisioning, this is what it look like. I'm going to go to school for 4 years. I'm going to graduate. And then you come up and it's, oh, well, you might be here for 5. And plans just get thrown around. It was very stressful. But I think that was probably the first exposure that I had to rapid, immediate change. And that has only helped me of who I am right today. When I'm presented with change in these situations, I know exactly how to handle those because, I've been through it. So while it wasn't a very exciting time at the moment, when I look back on it, that's probably one of the more structured things that, has made me who I am and how I handle things today was that moment.
Thank you, Callie. Natalie, how about you?
Sure. So before I got elected to the House of Representatives, I actually ran for a state Senate seat about, say, 4 or 5 years ago. I was involved with the local party. The seat was open in a special election. And not to get too technical, and I don't know how much you all know about the political process. Hopefully, if you're over 18, and most of you would be if you're graduating from high school, but you were out to vote yesterday, that was our primary election. When there's a special election, someone resigns early in the middle of their term, it triggers a special election. So it wouldn't fall on a regular election day. So there would be no primary. It would just fall to the traditional general election between the two major political parties. But how the candidate gets chosen is a conferee process. So it's a closed process for each political party. And I had ran for a Senate seat in that closed conferee process, and I lost. So you're basically going, there were, I think, maybe 100 or so conferees, and I sat down with each and every one of them. I took a whole summer off of my job to do it, like put my life on hold, because I really thought that I could go and I could make a difference, and I thought I had the qualifications to get there. And those 100 people didn't agree. And it was devastating. It was the first time I ever really failed and failed pretty big. And you don't see it in the moment. It took me, a couple of months to get over it and think that, well, I'm glad that I went through the process. I've met so many good people throughout the process. I know the process inside out and backwards now, having lived through it. But just getting through those, initial weeks and initial months to realize that you failed. It is hard to come out of it, but coming out of it, I couldn't have been, more thankful for not getting it for various reasons. It wasn't the right time for me. It wasn't the right time for my family. I wouldn't have been in this role now, which I absolutely love. Like, I know I'm meant to be where I am right now, and I wouldn't be here had I succeeded at that state Senate seat. So I am grateful today for having lived through that failure and learned so much throughout that process. But it's just hard to see in that moment. You just have to give it some time.
So failure is an opportunity in disguise.
Absolutely.
Chase, what about you? Any challenges, failures in your life?
Oh, I've had plenty of failures. I think the one that comes to mind the most, in 2007, 2008, when the financial crisis happened, I was in my dream job. I was 2 years out of West Virginia at grad school. I had landed where I wanted to be, and we found ourselves in a very challenging situation. You can imagine when you have a financial crisis, professional golf is not at the top of companies' priority lists for sponsoring. So we got to a point with our golf tournament where it was no longer financially feasible, and it was a tough pill to swallow to know that at some point in the very near future I was going to lose my job, and eventually did. But what came out of that was something that forced me to adapt, forced me to think harder, and truly I believe when a door closes, God will open a window. And at that time in my life, my phone rang, and it was a gentleman named John Switek, who was here in Washington County. And he said, "Hey, look, I've got this idea. Why don't we put together a golf tournament and do something special in Washington County?" And so it forced me way outside of my comfort zone. I like to be the guy way behind the camera. I like to be the guy that is in boots and doing all the background work to make something happen. I don't like to be, in charge. But that opportunity really opened me up to a lot of things in my life. And whenever I looked at it, later on, you gotta think, man, what a great opportunity. And thank goodness that it forced me into that position where I had to take a leadership role. And had it not been for that crisis in a lot of people's lives, it wouldn't have played out.
Thank you, Chase. Ryan, how about you?
Sure. So I can relate just from the side, probably two projects themselves. I mean, from the development process, it's not an overnight approval. So when you see something being built, it wasn't just bought, a week ago, and we put our plans in, and there's a structure being built. These plans, the approvals, everything you go through is usually probably close to a year, sometimes more. So by the time you start seeing the building go up, there's a significant amount of work, time, money that goes into that preparation before that happens. So we happen to be looking at two different projects that were kicking off at two different times, and so the amount of time that had been spent by our group, to get to these points of approvals through townships. We were awarded, I'll call it denials on both fronts. So, the sense of a failure, I don't like to use the word, but through definition, we failed through approvals. So through everyone's, through everyone's evaluation of that, it's a disappointment. There's a lot of time spent, and also, you're in it, so you feel like you need to succeed. So you with that disappointment, we reevaluated our approach, and as Chase was talking about time, we listened to what people had to say, and also the township. We went back, asked what we could do better, and through another period of time, through changes, and again listening and evaluating as to what people were looking for, what the township was asking of us. We did make changes on one. I will say the other one, we didn't necessarily make changes because we believed in our process. but there was additional work that we had to do. So if you want to call that a change, it wasn't a change from our initial process. The other one needed to be changed. But I will also say that there's times where we do believe in our process and maybe we don't get something. And so through that failure, we try to learn as much as we can from that. But again, you stick to your guns sometimes if you believe something. You don't have to win everything in order to be successful from it. So I mentioned that too. So I just recently, over the past couple of years, through a couple of things we've gone through, big projects. But at the end of the day, we do feel that we're going to come out, with what was planned. So hopefully we will meet our end goal.
Well, thank you, Ryan. And I think that goes to show you a failure is not the end of the world. It's how you respond and how you adapt and how you pick yourself back up after that challenging incident. Brandon, how about you?
I would say I failed a lot in my life. Importantly, I've learned, to humble myself and to learn from those. And importantly, I want all of you guys to know, it's okay to fail and it's okay to be afraid of failure. You can utilize that to make yourselves a lot better. But don't shy away from risk because of fear of failure. It's okay to risk, to risk something and to fail. You will learn a lot from it if you can humble yourself, and take in the lesson.
Awesome. Brandon, thank you very much. Megan, we'll finish this question up with you.
Okay. All right. Yeah, Brandon tied that up nicely. Failure is a learning experience, right? It is something that none of us can avoid. So no one's perfect. And there's so many times throughout my life, high school, college, when I entered the workforce, even today, that I wish I could rewind and redo. But it's just important that when we fail forward, right? So I try to always keep that in mind. When something doesn't turn out how I planned, look back on it, reflect, what did I learn and how can I be better next time? So if you keep that in mind, know that you're not going to avoid failure. We're all going to face it, but it's how you react and how you adapt that can get you ahead.
Thanks, Megan. Before we go to our next poll and hear from some seniors, I have one more question to ask of our panelists, and that is, what can those on the call today and those who may be watching this at a later time, what are 2 to 3 things that they can do today or tomorrow to help prepare them for their futures? Let's send that to Ryan first.
Sure. So I think, you've heard of some of the PPP programs that are out there from the financing institutions. And this happened to be, kicking through some of the terms and words, and I'll leave you with 3 Ps. How about that? So to start off with, stay positive. We're in tough times, but the attitude of staying positive at least will help you, I think, provide a better outlook as to you seeing things in the future. So I encourage the positive look as you move forward, and be persistent. If there's your goal, whatever schooling, whatever degree, whatever it might be persistent towards it. It'll pay off in the long run, and remain patient. I've had to learn patience, coming out of school. I remember coming into this business and I wanted things done tomorrow morning. It's not the reality. We must be patient and let things evolve. Let the process evolve. I think you'll see at the end of the day what your goal is. You will get there.
Awesome. 3 Ps. Thank you, Ryan. Brandon, can we hear from you now?
Oh, absolutely. Importantly for this upcoming summer, seek out an opportunity to volunteer. It could be at your food bank, it could be at your church, it could be at an organization, that you care about. It could be, you know, on a campaign in the fall. Just seek out some opportunity to give some of your time, you know, to something that you care about. Those lessons, you know, that you learn from in volunteer opportunities, they're very much applicable to school and work and life. So seek that, you know, seek out that time. Obviously, have fun this summer, but also seek out some time that you can give back as well.
Thank you, Brandon. Great advice. Megan, how about you?
All right, so number one, I would say just be curious and be inquisitive and ask a lot of questions. So learn as much as you can, and not just textbook learning. Like, that's very important. And a lot of you are going to have a lot of textbook learning here in your future, going to continuing your education. But take time to ask your parents or your neighbors what they do and what's their day like, and what was their day like before versus what it is now, and you know, what types of challenges and solutions do they provide to help our society or help our economy. So just ask a lot of questions. Also, now my number two is the same as Brandon's, is get involved with your community. There are a lot of people that need help, and not just right now. There's always help that's needed, right? And if you find something that you're really passionate about and a way to get involved, I promise you that you will get more out of it than that organization gets out of it. Truly, you will be rewarded so much by just giving back. And then finally, my third would be just to focus on what you can control and try not to spend too much time worrying about the things you cannot. And that is advice that people have given me throughout my life, because I worry about things and I don't like change. And if you focus on the things that you can control, then you stay focused. And that all starts with your attitude. And right now, there's a story being written in America and across the world. And your class, and all of us here today, actually, we have the opportunity to narrate that story. So it has to start with our attitude and the way we see things and our perspective. And so think about that. Think about, how do you want this story to play out, and how can you be a part of that?
Thank you, Megan. Callie, how about you?
I would say explore your future opportunities. I know a lot of you guys said that your plans were to go to college. Make sure that when you go, you're exploring different paths, paths that you're interested in, that you feel passionate about. There's a lot of different majors or minors, whatever it may be, that you can do. And I think it's helpful to explore those before you get to college. And then that, you know, coinciding with that, asking questions. Like Megan said, you know, ask the people that are in those majors or in those fields, what do they do in their daily lives? What do they want to do? I think it's, you know, a lot of just connecting right now, because we all need someone to lean on in this moment, especially. My second thing would just be to celebrate your small wins. It doesn't matter how small they are. There's a lot of positivity that is needed right now with everything that's going on. So just make sure that you take the time to yourself to, you know, celebrate yourself. It literally could be you made your bed this morning. It's just something to, you know, a feel good feeling, because that is needed right now. And then lastly, just relax, take a breath. It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming in this moment with the virus. It's overwhelming going to college, especially in big campuses. Just take a breath. Everything doesn't have to be go, go, go all the time. You know, you need that personal rest time. Read a book, take a walk, whatever. But you need to ease your mind a lot, especially in this time.
Thank you, Callie. Representative Mihalik, do you have some advice for our students?
you. I want to say mentorship and inspiration. And I think that both of those things can oftentimes come through relationships. A mentorship and inspiration can come from the same person. And I'm constantly myself, even still, seeking both of those things. And it's an evolving, mentorships from different people. I think when I was younger, I was too, I don't want to say afraid, but I felt like I was bothering someone. Like, oh, this person does something that I want to do. I should call them and see how they got there. Never be afraid to just pick up the phone and ask. The worst that they can say is no. And most of the time they won't. I constantly ask for meetings, for advice, for different, from different people, so I can be inspired, and look for different mentors. And it's not always, a mentor just for your job, but they're mentors in life. Maybe it's somebody that, has found a way to juggle, family and work and philanthropy and everything else. And it's just, somebody that I want to steal tips from. And most of the time, if somebody's found a way to do it, they're really happy to share with you, tips on how to do something well. So don't be afraid to just pick up the phone and ask for a meeting. Once the coffee shops are back open, ask for that 15-minute cup of coffee, because it might end up paying dividends for years to come.
Thank you, Natalie. Do you have any advice?
Yeah, I think we're surrounded by brilliant and unique people, and nobody's perfect, but everybody they're exceptional in their own way. And so I pay really close attention to the people that I work with and the people that I work for. And to Natalie's point, I steal ideas. I look at them and I say, what is that one thing that they are very good at? And I can name to you on one hand, folks that I've worked with in the past. I'm looking at, how do they treat people? I want to model my work ethic after that person's. How do they prioritize their lives? How do they simplify complex situations and problems? And how do they work through those things? And, I think whenever you start to collect those traits and you're looking to the right types of role models and you're learning from everybody, I think it makes you really dangerous in the end, and it gives you a skill set that's very valuable. The second piece to this is more of a mindset piece, and what everyone's going through right now, and specifically you guys, my heart goes out to you in high school. There's nothing fun about this, right? This is a challenging, sometimes it's a scary thing to go through. But from a mindset perspective, sometimes there's things that are fun in the moment and they're really fun to look back on. But there's also type 2 fun, and type 2 fun is horrible when you're going through it. It's just miserable. It can be devastating. You don't know that you're going to find your way out of it. But when you look back at it, type 2 fun are the things that you're really most proud of. You're like, how did we make it through that? So sometimes it's worth thinking about going through some difficult things as type 2 fun. I'm going to have a great story whenever this thing ends.
Thank you, Chase. Now, before moving on to our last poll, we're going to draw our next 2 prize winners. And our next 2 prize winners are Gianna Woods. And at this point, I'm going to send it over to our Prive correspondent, Maeve. Maeve, please tell us what Gianna has won.
Oh, hey, didn't see you there. Buffalo Wild Wings, winner, chicken dinner.
Buffalo Wild Wings, awesome. And then our 4th prize winner of the day, Rory Schreiber. Once again, I'm going to send it over to Maeve. Maeve, please tell Rory what she's won.
Here we go. Presto Spino. Another Tanger Outlets beef jerky outlet. Here I come.
Hey, have fun at the Tanger Outlets, Rory. Now I'm going to send this up for another poll. And this is our last poll of the day. And the question for the seniors is, what part of the community outreach that we've seen over the last couple weeks has been most helpful or most inspirational to you? We've seen social media recognition, parades, yard signs, adopt a senior programs. We want to hear from you which part of that community outreach was most beneficial or most uplifting to you. So you should see the poll up in front of you there, and we've got some answers. Oh, the answers are rolling in here. It's like we've got looks like Adopt a Senior's in the lead there. So just click on your polling, and then we'll, they're followed far away from by yard signs and parades. So it looks like, I think can we call the poll there, Chase? Look up. Well, that was a surprise. Oh, so the parades and the Adopt a Senior program were the most effective in lifting your spirits and really showing you that the community cared. And we saw a lot of those on social media. So glad to know that they were helpful to y'all. At this point, as we're moving on to wrap up the show here, I do want to send the floor over to a senior who may have a question. Is there something you would like to ask, or is there something that you want the panelists to know about you, your friends, your class? If you do have a question, please use the raise hand feature, or you're welcome to send us a private question there. Anybody? Let's see here. How about, is Dylan Bukovinsky still with us? Dylan, I see up there. Is that do you have your hand raised there, Dylan? No? There he is, Dylan. Was that a hand raised there? Or
hello?
Oh, Seth. Seth, do you have a question, Seth, for our panelists?
Yes, I do. It was from earlier, and I was gonna ask if any of you had advice on when to become a real estate agent. Whether or not it should be during college or after. Okay, who would like to take that question with Brandon? I see you unmuted yourself. Okay.
So Seth, I would say you can do it either now. Hold on a second, buddy. You can do it in college or after. There is no shame in trying to get experience as you're getting educated. So there's no need to choose. It's just when the right time is for you. You can go get your license at any point.
Mm-hmm. Just to follow up on what Brandon said too, I remember coming back through one of my summers from college, and I took the real estate classes. So it's exactly what Brandon was saying. You can take the classes whenever. Never hurts to have the license, because even before, you could probably accomplish that before you even went back in the fall, if you really wanted to, take the test. So you can always have it. And after that, it's just a matter of continuing education every couple of years and having that license.
Awesome. Thank you, Ryan. And then it looks like we've got some questions coming in just relative to, what if I don't know? How do I figure out what might be a good path for me? How do I figure out my passion, and then how that will carry me through my career? Any of our panelists like to answer that question?
I'll jump in there. So I always knew that I had a passion for people, and I always, growing up, I always was into sending letters and mail and making people feel good. And I remember in my first job, I worked at Crency's Diner. When I was from 15 to 22, I worked at Crency's. So anyone from Washington, go Trinity Hillers. I worked there, and the best part about that job, and looking back on it now, were the people. And there were regulars, and you got to know them and learn about their lives and their family. And that is what I love most about my job. And so looking back on it, that's what I do now, is I'm super passionate about the people that I work with every day, whether it's my team, it's the community in which I'm involved, it's my customers, my business colleagues. That to me is what drives me every day. So looking back, your little high school job that you think, I go because my parents make me go, you could really learn a lot, and really learn a lot about yourself.
Well, thank you, Megan. That's very helpful, because sometimes I know when I was a senior, it was really hard to see that far into the future. But when you realize that what I'm doing right now can impact me down the road, it makes it all more real. So at this point, before we send it over to our panelists for closing remarks, we're going to draw our last two prize winners. And that I'm going to, we're on a little bit of a time delay with our last two prize winners, which is quite all right. Thank you very much, Will. So our fifth prize winner of today is Hannah Roberts. And I'm going to send it over to our prize correspondent, Maeve, to tell us what Hannah has won. Maeve?
All right, let's see what prize they've won. Bam! Wait, what? Anyways, bam! Awesome, an iTunes gift card.
Great, thank you, Maeve. And our last prize winner of the day is Wyatt Coburn.
All right, last spin of the day. Let's make it a good one. Awesome, another Buffalo Wild Wings gift card. Back to you, Laurel.
Thank you to our prize correspondent, Maeve. At this point, we are going to have closing remarks from our panelists and then a little wrap up to end our time together. Natalie, would you like to start with your closing remarks?
Sure. Thank you again for having me and to the class of 2020. I know this has been a difficult few months for you, but forge ahead. I think Brandon said in his opening remarks that you all have just been through fire and you're all going to be stronger for it. So congratulations. Go forward, find your mentor, find your inspiration, and continue achieving. Thank you all for having me. I wish you the best of luck. If you need anything in the future, please feel free to contact me.
Thank you, Natalie. Chase, how about you?
I think my concluding thought is don't find yourself using the situation we're in as a crutch. Use it as an opportunity to adapt and to reinvent yourself if you need to. You don't have to have all the answers right now, but going through this opportunity, I think, is going to make us all stronger and better at what we do. So best of luck to you seniors.
Thank you, Chase. Ryan, how about you?
Same thing. I wish you all the best of luck through the graduating class of 2020. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Again, take your time. Let summer evolve. Let your thoughts and your willingness to learn, take charge in what you like to do. And I enjoyed today. So hopefully that helps answer some questions moving forward. And if you do have any questions on our front, real estate front, I might see some of you in a few years, in the industry. Feel free to reach out. Good luck.
Thank you, Ryan. Brandon, how about you?
Yeah, I would say, just go at life and try to maintain a balance of mind, health, and faith. You're going to need all three, to push through life. So just go at it, try to maintain some balance.
Thank you, Brandon. Megan, how about you?
Yeah, I would just kind of echo everyone else. Have fun this summer. This is really probably your last summer home per se for most of you. Enjoy time with your family. I was thinking about, wow, what would the pandemic been like if I was stay-at-home orders of quarantine with my older brother and sister? And we would have had so much fun. So enjoy that and take the time to connect, because your life's going to change, and it's going to change really fast, and it's going to be a lot of fun. But enjoy that time that you're home as well. So all the best. If I can ever help any of you in any way, you can visit the Rally Forward website or just Google my name. You'll find me.
Thank you, Megan. And last but not least, Callie Fry.
Yeah, I would just tell you guys to enjoy the summer. It looks different. It does, and it stinks that some of the plans that you all might have had are not going to be able to happen. But there's so much that you can do with your friends, your family. Like Megan said, this is the year before you go to college, and that was such a bittersweet summer for me. But as you're going into college, just keep an open mind. And like I just graduated last May, so I've been in your guys' shoes not that long ago. And if you guys have questions or concerns, or you're scared or you're worried, please reach out to me. I worked with incoming college students, so I have experience with that. and I was an incoming college student. So just have fun, explore your options, take every opportunity that comes at you, because you never know. That could be the opportunity that shapes your future and that makes you, finally understand what you want to do with the rest of your life. But best of luck to you guys. Make sure to soak in these moments. This is so exciting to graduate from high school. But yeah, have a great summer, guys.
Thank you, Callie. And now our time today has come to an end. I really want to thank the class of 2020 for being with us here today. We hope you took away some valuable advice and some valuable input from our panelists and from the conversation today. I encourage you, if you have any follow-up questions that you would like to ask them, please go to therallyforward.com. Their contact information is all listed there, and they would welcome any questions or discussion that you would like to have moving forward. Also, if you've got friends who weren't able to log on today, the Washington County Chamber of Commerce is going to post this event on their YouTube channel later today. So please check that out there and watch it at your leisure. And then lastly, I want to thank the Washington County Chamber of Commerce. I am a board member there, and I'm thrilled with their partnership and their willingness to be a part of this event. I want to thank our panelists. I want to thank DJ A.J. Fresh, and I definitely want to thank the class of 2020. We want you to know the community supports you, we're inspired by you, and we're here for you. So have a great summer. Thank you. Goodbye.